everyone, and welcome to the Kimberly Guilfoyle Show, live here on Rumble, where facts come first and where news is done right. And today, far-left radical district attorney Alvin Bragg has decided to throw America into uncharted legal territory with an indictment of Donald Trump. And we have an all-star panel to break it all down. Reporter John Solomon and Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna will both be here. And later in the show, Donald Trump's lawyer Joe Tacopina will join us with even more legal analysis. Now, the 45th president this afternoon took off for New York and is expected to appear in a Manhattan courtroom for an arraignment tomorrow and then deliver remarks back at Mar-a-Lago later that evening. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "I will be leaving Mar-a-Lago on Monday at 12 noon, heading to Trump Tower in New York on Tuesday morning. I will be going to, believe it or not, the courthouse. America was not supposed to be this way." Indeed. And get this, there's also growing concern that the judge in the case may take the unprecedented step of actually imposing a gag order in the case, raising even more legal questions about silencing a presidential frontrunner. And that we have explained in great detail on this program that this sham indictment has no basis in fact and no basis in law. It relies on discredited witnesses, convicted felon, in fact. It's been on a campaign finance theory seemingly pulled out of thin air. And the statute of limitations also appears to have run out. So what is going on here? This is as weak of a case as you have ever seen, as I have ever seen. And it's being done to a former president. It's legally deficient. It is factually deficient. And it's not a prosecution. We all know what it is. It's a persecution. But that's the whole point. These unhinged left-wing lunatics want nothing but power at all costs and are willing to do anything and everything to destroy even our most sacred institutions, all to try to take down one man because he stands up for you, for all of us. They're really after him because ultimately they are after you. And the legal system and the political swamp isn't even trying to hide it. No effort to conceal it. Just look at this tweet from Nancy Pelosi, quote, "No one is above the law and everyone has the right to a trial to prove innocence." This is a total, absolute mockery of our Constitution and of our justice system. We have a presumption of innocence in this country. You do not have to prove your innocence. The state has to prove your guilt with facts, law, evidence against you. But of course, that's not how Democrats think. That's not how they roll. There's one standard for them and one standard for the rest of us. Just think about it. Nancy Pelosi is explicitly coming out against equal justice, against justice for all. She is explicitly saying that Donald Trump is held to a different standard and shouldn't get the presumption of innocence. The law is dead. The Rubicon has been crossed. But guess what? Donald Trump is only going to get stronger and fight back harder. And it is time to wake up. It is time for Republican lawmakers, state attorney generals, and all the way down the line to step up and hold left-wing abuses of power accountable everywhere that they see it. Root it out. Get rid of the evil. What we are seeing from Alvin Bragg, Democrats, their unquestioning allies in the media, reveals everything wrong with our political and legal and justice system. Blatantly corrupt and biased. Openly and abusively, in fact, biased. Self-righteous, destructive, dangerous, and delusional. This indictment is part of a long list of unprecedented steps to try and take down Donald Trump. And it's an all-out and very obvious effort to meddle in the 2024 election and once again lie to voters, muddy the waters, undermine the democratic process, and intimidate political opponents. The mask is off. And like I said, none of these far-left lunatics are hiding what they're doing. And it's all based on nothing except a never-ending hysterical pursuit of power at all costs. And now this is all more obvious than ever. And it's all about trying to stop Trump in 2024. Here's the 45th president of the United States laying it all out. Take a look.
Biden wants to pretend he has nothing to do with the Manhattan DA's assault on democracy, when in fact, he has stuffed the DA's office with Department of Injustice people, including one top DOJ operative from D.C. who is actually running the horse-face witch hunt. Bragg is a Soros racist in reverse who has taken his orders from D.C. I beat them twice, doing much better the second time, and despite their disinformation campaign, they don't want to run against Trump or against our great record. That's why we're leading in the polls by so much. People are longing for the past where we had a great nation, we had a successful nation, we had a nation and an economy like no one has ever seen before. That's what they want again, and that's what they're going to get. 2024 will be the most important election in our history. Thank you very much.
And joining me now, Just the News founder John Solomon and Florida Republican Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Thank you guys, both of you, for being on the program for such an important day, really to see, the buildup, what's going to happen tomorrow, the foreshadowing, the take on it from, D.C., the swamp, where we sent Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna to go clean that swamp up. She's doing a good job. I'm going to begin with you, John, just to get your reaction to all of this. What can you tell us about your reporting, which has been phenomenal, and the president's legal strategy moving forward? Okay, we're having a problem with John's audio. So let me switch over to Anna Paulina. Congresswoman, so let's talk about this. What threat does all this pose to the justice system, and how will it affect your work on the House Oversight Committee?
It's incredibly important right now. If you look at the amount of people that are being silent on this, and they should be outwardly vocal in condemning this, I think it is a blatant show that there is a double standard that exists within the justice system, and that the justice system has indeed not only been compromised, but weaponized against conservatives. In the work that we're doing in House Oversight, we have Chairman Comer, and then also Jim Jordan is also on that committee. And hopefully we will get a joint hearing together to see not only was there coordination with the DOJ and this district attorney, but also to what hand does this administration have in this whole thing?
Very good point. And everyone wants to know that, because you know what? Alvin Bragg isn't above the law. Okay, so he needs to answer the questions, and Congress has the power of subpoena, which they can and will use. I want to go back to John Solomon, because I read lips, and I think what you said was amazing. But I want our, listeners and viewers to be able to hear it as well. So take it away.
Well, listen, we have to see the indictment. When we see that, we'll know exactly what Alvin Bragg's legal theory is. But since this case has been leaked to smithereens already, we generally know what's going on here. He's going to try to upgrade a misdemeanor whose statute of limitations expired 5 years ago and try to make it a felony. Now, this is the same prosecutor that on a daily basis takes felonies committed by violent criminals and downgrades them to misdemeanors. So that contrast is going to be both politically important to the American public, but legally important. The statute of limitations here is a real problem for them. Another problem is the credibility of witnesses like Michael Cohen, upon which much of this case will rest. And then there's a third part of this that a lot of lawyers say hasn't really been thought of yet. In order to link all this together, you got to make an argument that the president was involved in some form of fraud. That's not possible here. Fraud, under the definition of the United States Supreme Court and of local New York court, it must involve trying to steal someone's property or money. President Trump is not accused of any of that. I think that's going to be one of the killers when it gets to the appellate court.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And this is why it's going to be very fascinating. You bring up a great point, John, and people at home just to see. It's like the indictment is sealed. So nobody knows, not the president, not anyone, but there's
No.
some different things, coming from leaks, DA's office or law enforcement, et cetera, giving some detail and just, what the subject matter essentially was of the grand jury proceedings. So that's why. And then people were also curious, John, just to ask you this really quick, because they're saying it's 30 plus counts on there, making it sound like he had 30 different instances of, misdeeds or criminal activity, et cetera. But that's not the case.
Yeah, a lot of times, again, we don't know what the number of counts are, but if it were to be 30, it could very well be every time a payment was made to Michael Cohen as part of the alleged reimbursement, that could get charged in New York. It's often done in New York when they want to pile on. Each transaction could be considered a charge, so we'll have to watch and see if there's a pile-on phenomenon here.
Absolutely. This will be fascinating to see tomorrow. Anyway, so Congresswoman, so obviously, this has been essentially Donald Trump's, life ever since he first decided to run. Because before that, he didn't have these problems, right? But as soon as he started to run, then they wanted to impeach him on the first day after he was elected. There were Washington Post reports about that they were looking into impeachment. They spied on him during the election over at Trump Tower in 2016. We had two ridiculous witch hunts, impeachment 1, impeachment 2, Mueller investigation, Russia, Ukraine. Then we had, the raid at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it's never ending. And now this, it's endless investigations. And Alvin Bragg is literally letting lawlessness run loose across New York. Reducing felonies to misdemeanors, rampant crime, no quality of life, children, parents, families worried to take the subway, to walk to work, to be out in their communities, people fleeing New York, and he's single-handedly focused on just persecuting the former president of the United States.
I mean, you're exactly right. It's very upsetting, especially being that New York used to be the pride and glory of this country, and it's really gone to hell in the handbasket over the last couple of decades, I think, with this terrible left-leaning legislation. But what's even scarier is, from this perspective, they're doing everything, in my opinion, that they can to try to prevent him from winning the White House in 2024. And what this has really done, Kimberly, and I'm seeing it not just in Washington, but even here among my constituents, whether they are Democrats, whether they're independents, people are starting to see now that this is a complete propaganda machine and a constant lie out of the Democrat Party. So I'm hoping that not only does consolidation of the base happen around President Trump to be our nominee for 2024, but I also hope that people continue to see that if we have people in office, if we have these people in positions of power that are this corrupt and we don't do anything about it, we will lose this country. And I don't say that just because I'm in office. I don't say that because, I'm there firsthand on the front lines, but I'm saying that because I genuinely am in fear with what's happening economically, what's happening with our foreign policy. And then obviously, this DA is looking into these crazy allegations and a cooked up charge against President Trump. But let's not forget, oversight has proof that the Biden family is receiving wire transfers from the CCP. Why is the media not discussing that? Why is this all of a sudden a topic that we're not supposed to be addressing on behalf of the American people? And I am very concerned about it.
Yeah, no, you're right. But, listen, elections have consequences. And, we do have a majority now, in the House. And I've seen a pretty, I would say, impressive, rapid move to be able to, go after these cases, go after Hunter Biden, go after the fact that the Biden family is compromised by China. This is not speculation. There's actual evidence to do this. When people say to me, the good folks out there, well, Kimberly, what's going to happen with this? Is there going to be accountability? We've got great people in Congress like yourself and MTG and Gates and Boebert, and Stefanik's been great. She's been on the program as well. What's going to happen? What can we get for some final, accountability or satisfaction out of this, that there still is law and order, that there still is justice in this country, the law isn't dead?
I think the number one thing right now that we're doing and what I have actually been successful at is the fact-finding mission on behalf of the American people. Once we get those facts out there, then we can pursue the legal aspect. But, for so long, the media has really gone to bat and cover up for a lot of this corruption that we're seeing. And then also, too, once we have some of this legislation in place, which is, as you saw on one of the oversight hearings that we were on with Twitter, we've known for so long that big tech has been in cahoots with the DNC, with some of these fact checkers, and honestly, parts of our federal government to suppress information from the American people. So we have to write that legislation. And once we do take back the White House, we can basically get that passed and really work hard at preventing this from happening in the future. It is scary, though, Kimberly, from some of the stuff that we see, and then the, I think, public pressure campaign that the left tries to run against us so that we can't do our jobs. It's something that I've never seen before.
It's unbelievable. It's just, they're like co-conspirators. It's a concerted effort, to try to end transparency in this country, end the rule of law, and just put in a whole politicized, weaponized process against whoever, you don't agree with their viewpoints. Because we see what they've done with DOJ, with FBI. That has to be investigated as well. I know you guys are dealing with, whistleblowers and stuff for the FBI. I've interviewed several on this program. The American people want the answers. They're tired of this runaround because it's just gotten worse, especially since Trump's gotten out of office. We see what's happening here. And if you have a DA like that is going to bring cases like this against, a former president, which again is unprecedented. I'm not saying somebody is, above the law. I'm saying don't bend and, shapeshift the law just so that you can try to destroy a human being who's innocent because you don't like their politics and you're scared as hell to have them get back in office. Right, John? I mean, you also have, John, a story about House Republicans that I want to get to as well, that they're looking to hold politicized persecutors accountable. Tell me about this. I love the accountability aspect.
It is. I think some of the Republicans realize that once all the facts are out there, like the Congresswoman just said, there needs to be some consequences. We went through the whole Russia collusion thing. We saw all the things that went wrong there. No one really paid a dear price for that. So what Congressman Austin Scott says is being discussed behind the scenes. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee, very influential voice in Congress, is that they're going to turn their tables. They're going to take an issue that Democrats tried to use against cops after the George Floyd protests in 2020 and eliminate the qualified immunity that prosecutors have from civil litigation. So if you're a prosecutor like Alvin Bragg and you bring a blatant political case that isn't rooted in the fact and it's found out that you did that, you can be sued by the defendant. If you are a prosecutor like Alvin Bragg and you let someone out and they go out and commit another crime when the law said you should have kept them behind bars, you'll be able to sue them. That will give a lot of local prosecutors pause that they don't have, particularly these Soros prosecutors who are carrying out an agenda that is extra legal beyond the current laws on the books in their own communities.
It's unbelievable. You think that we wouldn't have to do this in this country because we were always the shining example of the most incredible justice system and court system for law and order and for fairness, in the world. And now this whole thing is just, it's whatever they can do to try to get, President Trump. So Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna, follow up on this, the whole point that it isn't the first time we've seen, obviously, evidence of a politicized justice system. How culpable do you think, this is what the folks want to know at home, is the Biden White House in all of this? Because it seems like they've been driving this shift towards, lawlessness.
I think that they're extremely responsible. I mean, everything from these crazy investigations, these accusations, people coming forward, everything from that and what's happening with President Trump to what's happening right now with the January 6th defendants. I mean, I went with House Oversight to check on the status of some of these individuals. KG, I know that you are a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Some of these people have been in jail since January 6th, haven't even been given access to bail hearings. I mean,
and some in solitary confinement.
Yes.
Like Hannibal Lecter. That's how they're treating these people. It's insane.
It's insane. Another individual had a guard threaten to rape him, and the guard is still employed and overseeing the entire facility that they're at. So there's an incredible problem that we have in this country. And I hate to say it, but, I talk to people, I'm talking to ambassadors from other countries right now, and they're looking at us and they're looking to see what's happening, and they're floored. They're horrified, and rightfully so.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, I hear the same thing. World leaders look in and I interview them. They say, what's happened to your country? You were the shining beacon. Now you look like a banana Republican. Other countries look like they've stepped into the voice of reason and democracy and constitutional republic. This is such a critical moment in our history. Just take the last 72 hours. We're going to see President Trump be arraigned tomorrow on charges a lot of people think are incredibly suspect and certainly outside the statute of limitations. Over the weekend, we had a blogger convicted of putting a meme out, actually making a humorous meme. And meanwhile, 51 national security experts who told us falsely told us the Hunter Biden laptop, they walked away unscathed. They haven't been prosecuted. Those are the sort of contrasts that world leaders look at and say, hey, that's not the America we've been used to the last 246 plus years.
No, it's so crazy. But I mean, can you imagine that? So someone essentially doing the equivalent of like a political cartoon, a meme, Okay, my fiance calls himself like the general, the meme war. I don't know, some name. It's crazy, but he loves it, makes him happy. So I go, okay. But these are supposed to be funny and it's political satire and it's supposed to spark conversation. But now you have some guy going to jail for what 10 years? Like, how is this not going to get thrown out? By the way.
I mean, they also, too, have right now I call it the Digital Patriot Act, but it's the Senate's version of the TikTok ban, which, mind you, I sponsored a separate TikTok ban in-house. But, I mean, everything that they're using this because of the fact that, one, memes are extremely effective. We win on the arguments. Humor is a big aspect of that. But if they can suppress us every step of the way, they're going to. So we have a massive fight, especially with big tech, which is, I think, worthy of a whole nother topic in itself and segment.
and exactly. And you know why? Because you know how there's always like that sort of adage, but it's an adage because it's true. The left can't meme. Well, apparently, because they can't meme, they want to take the memes away, from the right, and that's what's happening here. But it's the same thing, over and over again. Or where we saw the QAnon shaman who was actually escorted in. That guy's been in jail forever, but fine. And they had that evidence, which was exculpatory. That wasn't put out there. The guy goes to jail for years and years, gets out early to go to a halfway house because Tucker Carlson gets that information, those videos, puts it out there. I mean, how sickening is that? To know that somebody's like innocent was actually led in and walked in with the Capitol Police, and then you put that person in jail. Like, hold on. Kim Jong-un wants his cred back. He's like, what are you guys doing in the U.S.? I'm supposed to be the guy that feeds people to the sharks that are, oppose my political viewpoints and whatever. But no, now we're the people doing that. It's become like a psychotic dictatorship in the United States where it's just the left and the Democrats. They'll do whatever it takes. It's like off with your head, throw them to the sharks, put them in jail, hide the evidence, resurrect old cases that, by the way, Southern District of New York declined to proceed forward on because there's no evidence, and so did the FEC. So this case has no legs. That's the thing. But if they're willing to convict somebody for doing a meme, like what is next? That's the problem, John, isn't it?
I over the weekend, I talked to someone who escaped communism from the Soviet Union, came to the United States, and they said Lenin and Stalin are turning in their graves saying, why didn't we think of these things that are currently being used in America? I think people who came from other countries, who escaped communism or Castro or the tyranny of Venezuela or other countries, they're looking at America saying, we didn't come here to have this happen in the country. They're going to be some of the most powerful witnesses, I think, over the next 6 weeks to what's wrong with our judicial system and why we need to fix it right now.
You're absolutely right, because now they're going to have to leave the United States to escape political persecution and communism. Wait, what? Yeah. I mean, that's the state of the affair. So bottom line, I'll get last comments from both of you. John, what do you see tomorrow? How do you think this turns out? People are worried about is a protest or this, that, or anything else going on. What do you think?
I think the Trump protesters will be peaceful and just express themselves. I think it'll be a circus because that's what Alvin Bragg wants it to be, is a circus tomorrow. And then the real work begins. You get the indictment and then it goes to the court system. And a lot of these big legal issues that you pointed out at the top of the show, they start to get adjudicated. My guess is this doesn't survive a legal test as it moves up the chain in the court system. Yeah,
it should be dismissed, by a judge, quite frankly, if the evidence isn't there, with a motion to dismiss for insufficiency of the evidence. So I'm very curious to get my hands on that indictment tomorrow, as is everybody else, and really pour through it. But he has excellent legal counsel, I know. And so, the truth will prevail. And President Trump, as we all know very well, he is just getting stronger from this and really is going to fight back. And that's the kind of leader you need, especially with everything going on, as you've pointed out, Congresswoman, in the world arena with national security and foreign policy. We're at a really perilous time in this country. And you know that, too, based on your service to this country. So, hopefully tomorrow we want everything to be peaceful. People have a right to assemble. People have a right to express their opinions and support, especially against the lawlessness that's, occurring here in this very situation and, in fact, on the streets of New York. But I want to thank you both for being here on the program today. It's always a pleasure, and we look forward to having you back many more times.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you all. More big breaking news just ahead, and an interview with Trump attorney Joe Tacopina. But first, a message from our friends at Patriot Care. Kimberly Guilfoyle, in appreciation for your continued support of our mission to put America first, we now offer Patriot Care, a non-insurance healthcare benefit program for you and your family for less than 90 cents per day. Benefits include 24/7 access to telemedicine, dental and vision discounts. It also includes global travel assistance. Sign up below, and together we can put your health and America first. All right, that is Patriot Care, and you can go online and check that out and get great value and savings for your family the America First way. And now the case against Donald Trump is so baseless that even some Democrats are walking a fine line. For example, West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin is calling into question the motivations of the indictment, saying, quote, "Nobody is above the law, but nobody should be targeted by the law." But of course, many of the unhinged lunatics across the media can't contain their glee over the attacks on the integrity of our justice system. But there's more evidence that this may all just backfire again, as a new poll from the Trump campaign finds that more voters in the primary and general election are likelier to vote for him post-indictment. It's backfiring. And today I sat down with Donald Trump's attorney, Joe Tacopina, for a look at all of the latest developments. Take a look. All right, Joe, thank you so much for joining us. And first, if you can kind of take us through what the process will be tomorrow on Tuesday in Manhattan, like what are the security protocols and what will the process be like in the courtroom so the viewers have a familiarity with it?
Kimberly, it's a great question. The problem is, I don't think any of us know really, except that we're going down there late morning. The arraignments are going to be sometime in the afternoon. It's a Secret Service run operation, so we're going down with them, and we will be arriving with them, and they will take control of who gets out, where, and how, and all that. As far as inside the courthouse, that's the Court Officers Union is dealing with that. The court officers and the NYPD, of course, with Secret Service's input. But part of me thinks it's going to be just a regular arraignment. We go before a judge, we plead not guilty, we set motion schedules, and we do all those things we normally do. But I think we all know that nothing here is normal. Nothing's going to happen in a standard way, and the DA's office is going to try and eke out every ounce of publicity they can get from this, and try and put on a spectacle and a show like they've been doing all along. So I don't really know what to expect, quite frankly, except we will very much plead not guilty very loudly and proudly, and then get out of there.
Yes, I think the idea is to streamline the process and the processing, get that handled, and then move forward with a vigorous defense of the case. So what has been, you've been directly communicating obviously with the president. What has been his reaction to all of this?
He's a fighter, and he's ready to fight. He still cannot believe he's coming to New York for an arraignment in criminal court. Honestly, neither can I. It's
yeah, no one can. It's outrageous. It's unprecedented. It's just
that we'll never be able to go back to. It's just insane. But he's ready to go. He's now in fight mode.
Yes, and if everybody knows him, knows that he's a big fighter, and he's not going to put up with this, and he's going to see it through all the way. He feels like he's on a mission, right? To represent every hardworking American out there, because if they can do this to him, they can do it to any one of them, and that's the real important point here. We've gone through some the law, and it seems like there's obviously no crime here, but yet they're going forward on kind of a very bizarre legal bootstrapping theory. And now you have this case being brought against him. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think they're basing this on? And then what is your legal strategy?
I mean, they're basing it on a political agenda. That's what they're basing it on. They're going to attempt to say the Stormy Daniels, confidentiality agreement was a campaign fund issue, which it was not. It was a personal resolution to a civil case, which happens all the time in this city, in this country, quite frankly. Confidentiality agreements, payments made by the way, this was engineered by his then lawyer, Cohen, and Stormy Daniels' lawyer. President Trump didn't even know about it at the time. Cohen took out a loan to finance the payments and then subsequently billed for legal fees later. But all of that aside, it just doesn't come close to the realm of federal campaign law violation. And that's where we're at. This is a federal election. The FEC has already passed on this. The Justice Department has passed on this. This is a case that is, without any legal or factual merit. I mean, the standard was the payment made exclusively for the campaign? And then you would have to, of course, make an FEC notification. But here, the answer to that question is absolutely not, because the payment would have been made irrespective of the campaign. It's to resolve a personal matter that would have caused embarrassment to himself and his family in a civil settlement that happens all the time. I've said before, if anyone's a victim of anything, he's the victim of extortion.
Yes.
But putting that aside, assuming everything everyone's saying is true, including Michael Cohen, I know that's an unlikely scenario. I mean, the guy is constitutionally incapable of telling the same story the same way twice. Putting that aside,
Convicted felon.
Assuming that was true, it still doesn't amount to a crime. It just doesn't, because there's no scenario where this payment, this money, was not used for personal benefit. It was personal money used for a personal benefit. That benefit being to not have any, embarrassing stories coming out and written. He still had a career. If he didn't win the White House, he was still going back to his TV show. He was a television personality. He had other, like his real estate project. So, that would have been done irrespective of the campaign. Once you reach that, there's no crime.
Yeah. Okay. And so what is the time frame here? People want to know, how is this going to play out, just in terms of the procedural aspects of it? What can we expect?
I think, like any other case, of course, there are going to be a slew of motions that are not normally made. We're going to make motions to dismiss based on prosecutorial misconduct, selective prosecution, legal insufficiency. So there's a whole host of motions that are going to be coming down the pike. That will take longer than most. There'll be discovery. I'm sure there's going to be issues of protective orders, which would complicate and slow things down a little bit regarding discovery, meaning you can't disseminate the discovery that we get in the case. But, at the end of the day, there'll be a motion schedule, a hearing schedule, and a trial schedule, unless this case is dismissed beforehand. I think it should be based on the law and based on the facts and the allegations that we know exist. This case should not make it to a trial, but if it does, we'll be ready.
Okay. And a lot of people have asked me, do we have confidence in the judge and the jury in a case that is so, high profile and clearly politicized?
Yeah, I know the president doesn't have confidence in the judge because he was the judge in the Trump Organization trial. And they felt that there was some really improper rulings against Trump.
And bias, yes.
Bias, and they, as a matter of fact, made a motion to recuse him in that case that didn't go anywhere. I can't opine right now that this judge needs to be removed or recused yet because he hasn't done anything in this case yet. I want to give him a chance to be fair and intellectually honest, and I hope he's going to be. And if he is, then this case should be resolved well before we ever start picking a jury. And if we get to a jury process, yes, we all know what the numbers say from a polling standpoint of New York County. That being said, rule of law is important in this country. Every American, no matter what side of the political spectrum they sit on, should be concerned about rule of law. And the rule of law is something that will be absolutely shattered if this case is allowed to proceed.
I totally agree.
And I think
it's unprecedented. And it's very dangerous precedent they're establishing here.
The prosecutor's office to politicize, cases now. So, when you weaponize the justice system and you decide you're going after a target based on the political leanings, that becomes really problematic. I mean, today it's Donald Trump. Tomorrow it could be a Democrat.
Absolutely.
A Texas prosecutor who's a Republican could not like a Democratic candidate who seems to be doing well. They'll search his personal and business life for 7 years like they did Donald Trump. They'll find the man, and then they'll look for the crime. That is not how it's supposed to be, and that's exactly what happened here.
It's unbelievable. Now, a lot of discussion. I've had multiple cases where a gag order, was issued. There's some reports here indicating that a judge might do that as well. What are your thoughts on that? What impact do you think it'll have on the case, if any at all?
I don't think there'll be a gag order at all here. I mean, there's First Amendment issues that have to be balanced with the right of a fair trial. But here, again, first impression, again, something that we've never seen before. You can't gag the defendant because he happens to be running for the office of the presidency.
Right.
He's
it's a big deal.
So if you imagine he's going to be asked about this, obviously, on his campaign trails and debates, what is he supposed to say? I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I have a gag order. I mean, the gag order is the most extreme remedy, and it's in violation of the First Amendment. And I don't think anyone's proposing a gag order, by the way. So I think it's more about the protective order on some of the documents to not disseminate them to third parties.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense in terms of, putting this case forward. What do you think the American people need to really understand, about this case? Because it does involve a lot of nuance about election law and, a past case, and about, are they trying to bootstrap in because the statute of limitations has run? But yet then we hear reports it's, 30 plus counts.
Well, the counts could be just, them taking each check, each payment, each ledger entry, each whatever, and extrapolating. And making, I mean, it's the same factual scenario, whether it's 2 counts or 30 counts. It's one factual scenario. And what they need to know about this case is that if this were not Donald Trump, for John Smith, there is no way this case would ever have been brought into a courtroom. Just look back to recent history. I mean, I don't know, Hillary Clinton, the Steele dossier, right?
Right.
That was a campaign finance violation, right? FEC found that was a campaign violation, and she paid a fine. Here, the FEC found
declined
to
proceed forward. Yeah,
they found it was, and she paid a fine. Bill Clinton, when he was running for office, had to pay Paula Jones $900,000 for a sexual assault allegation. That was not deemed a campaign issue and an FEC violation. That just skirted on. So I think the American people need to understand that this has never happened before, because we don't do this. That's not what happens. It's a personal expenditure made with personal funds. I mean, even John Edwards, who was indicted by the feds and got a hung jury and an acquittal, and then the feds dismissed the case, and they had jurisdiction. It was a federal election. That money was paid with donor money. In his case, some donor paid $900,000 to keep his girlfriend and child in a hidden stash house, so to speak.
Well, remember that? Yeah.
That was with the donor's money. Here, this was personal money, it wasn't campaign money.
And he was hiding in the bathroom stall when, the National Enquirer was going in there after him. That was crazy.
It's crazy. So anyway, that's sort of where we are now. It's a case that really troubles me personally on a deep level. As a former prosecutor, as a defense lawyer for many years, I'm sad that we've got to this point in this country. I really am.
Me too. That's what I said earlier today. It's just, I never thought I'd see it. I'm very sad to see it, especially, myself, as a former prosecutor. That's a very serious job. We have a lot of discretion. You take an oath to uphold the law, to be a neutral arbiter of the law and the facts, to investigate and make sure that an actual crime has been committed, not to politicize the office because you have, donors that are upset that you're not going after President Trump. I mean, it's so outrageous to think, and I've said America, we're like the shining example, the most incredible, best justice system in the world. And now look at how far we have fallen with people like Alvin Bragg that are willing to do whatever it takes, sell their soul to try to put an innocent man behind bars. It's so really outrageous.
An embarrassment to this country, and it's a sad day for this country. It really is.
It really is. But we wish you such a good luck tomorrow, and so many people writing in with thoughts and prayers for the team and for the president for tomorrow. I know he has a lot of people behind him, Joe, and behind you, that people that weren't even Trump supporters before, because they think this is so outrageous and un-American what has transpired here. It's a trampling of our justice system and of our values and of our ethics.
I couldn't agree with you more, Kimberly. It really is. But at the end of the day, justice will prevail here. He's going to be fine, and we go forward. Unfortunately, we have to go through this process first. All
right. Well, good luck tomorrow, Joe. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the program.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. And we have much more to come on the program. But I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors who make this show possible, make Don Jr.'s show possible, like Goldco. So diversification is more important than ever, especially with everything going on in the world and distrust in financial institutions. And gold and silver can protect your retirement that you worked so hard for. Protect your savings from inflation and dollar devaluation. You can roll over your 401k or your IRA into precious metals and safeguard your savings, and you can do it tax and penalty free. So from precious metals, IRAs to direct purchases of gold and silver, Goldco has helped thousands of patriotic Americans diversify and protect their retirement savings. So go to Kim's Metals, has a nice ring to it, kimsmetals.com to learn more. That's kimsmetals.com. They actually will take you through everything. They've got phenomenal people that work there that will help guide you in the process, give you great advice, and really simplify the whole thing, making it easy for you and your family to protect your savings. And I want to tell you about another great sponsor of this show. You guys have heard about it before, but I absolutely love it. I use it. I put it in the shower for me and Don so that he will even smell good too. We want our men to smell good. I'm going to tell you about a new sponsor. It's called Old Country Soap. Okay, so it's made on a farm in South Dakota using traditional and natural techniques. Old Country Soap does not contain the harsh chemicals that can dry out your hair and your skin. And you're instantly going to be able to enjoy it, the soft feeling of your skin. I actually did like a whole sample little experiment. Making my friends, I'm like, feel my hands, appropriate parts. I'm like, feel this, feel my skin. Doesn't it feel soft? Because it does. It feels super soft and silky without feeling like greasy or anything. And you can use it on your hair. You can use it on your body. It's like one-stop shopping. Softness and the moisturizing feeling, and it lasts all day long. So that's what you get when you get nice, clean ingredients, chemical-free, and it's all made right here in the USA. So check out oldcountrysoap.com, promo code Kimberly to save 20%. I have some of it here right now. I got the pink one in the shower. I got this pretty peach one. Smells really, really good. And the lavender one. This is really peach. It looks yellow on the monitor there, but they both smell great, and they come with these little soap bags that are fabulous for traveling. You want to bring it with you. Also, I put it in the shower like this, so then you don't get the soap wasted away. A lot of people like that you get so many of these with it because it's fantastic. And it comes in this nice box. Wildflower scent is one of them. And 8 natural soap bars per box, so it's fantastic value. I'm not kidding you. Try it out for yourself, and then write me and tell me if I'm wrong about this. I love it. All purpose, and you can even use it for your laundry, or you can use it for shaving, or even for your pets. We got Mario and Luigi. We want them to smell good too, the Super Mario Brothers. Anyway, so many different scents to choose from, and they leave you smelling fresh and ready to take on the day. So that's oldcountrysoap.com. Use me for a promo code, and you're going to save 20%, folks, not 5%, not 10%, 20%. Great value. So use the Kimberly code and check that out. All right. I love it. It's out in the shower. I'm going to shoot a video one. That's what I got to do, right, John? I'm going to shoot a video, not while I'm in the shower. Oh, that would go big. All right. Now remember, let's talk about the left. I was in a good mood about soap, but I'm mad about tomorrow because the left has been waiting and wanting to take down Donald Trump ever since he came down the escalator back in 2015 with one phony investigation after another. First, it was Russia, Russia, Russia. Then sham impeachments 1 and 2. Then nonstop probes into the Trump family businesses. And now this, an unfounded, flimsy, and bizarre legal campaign finance case that has no legs. Democrats are doing what we've seen authoritarian regimes do around the world, corrupting the justice system to target a political opponent. And it's all being done because they are terrified that Donald Trump could win again. So the Democrat machine is doing everything they can to try and keep him out of the White House. It's politics in the most toxic way imaginable, where political foes aren't just opponents, but enemies that need to be destroyed. And let's just be honest, this case is just a complete embarrassment and a disgrace. No one really thinks there's a real crime that's been committed here. In their mind, the real crime is taking on the political establishment and challenging the status quo. It's a scheme all being hatched by those who claim to be defenders of democracy, when nothing could be further from the truth. But expect Donald J. Trump to remain as resilient and courageous as ever, and to emerge even stronger than before. And we will continue to bring you the very latest on all of it. And in the meantime, be sure to follow me at Kimberly Guilfoyle here on Rumble every Monday and Thursday live at 4 o'clock. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And also be sure to follow me across all platforms, Twitter, Truth Social, Facebook, and Instagram. And hop on over to locals.com at Kim Guilfoyle. I'm going to do a quick live thing with Sean Spicer on Newsmax that I'm going right over to Locals, where we're going to have a live Q&A. You can give me your thoughts, feedback, whatever you want to tell me about today's show, what you're thinking about tomorrow, who you'd like me to interview, what topics, all of the above. And comment down below, because we want to know who you want to see interviewed, right? And what you think is the most interesting stuff that we've been doing on the program. It's been a pleasure being with you. Let's hang in there for tomorrow. Let's fight for justice in the country. Never give up on America. God bless you all, and God bless President Trump. Have a wonderful evening.